In this Tech Corner video, I want to explore the color of light. If you have ever needed to adjust your white balance, you will be aware that what seems like white light to our eyes is anything but to a camera. The color of light, measured in degrees Kelvin, varies depending on the light source. When shooting with a single type of light source, managing color of light is simple. You just adjust your white balance accordingly and all looks good. The challenge comes when you start mixing different light sources. If you have ever taken a portrait and your subject almost looks like they were photoshopped into the photo, this is most likely the reason why. Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's look at color of light in more detail. As you can see in this color temperature chart, light is very red at the cool end of 1800 degrees Kelvin and gets very blue at the hot end. Notice how I'm calling red cool and blue hot. That's because I'm referring to the color temperature of light, not the emotional color. We perceive red to feel warm and blue to feel cool emotionally, but when it comes to the color temperature, the opposite is true. Color temperature is based on degrees Kelvin. Kelvin and Celsius are the same scale, offset by 273 degrees. So 3000 degrees Kelvin is 3273 degrees Celsius. But what does that actually mean? Like all standards, white balance needs to have a scientific base in order for all cameras and spectrometers to be calibrated to measure white balance consistently. Otherwise, a white balance reading on one camera may not be the same as that on another camera. So the color temperature chart was created by heating a metallic black body and measuring its color at various temperatures, resulting in this color temperature chart. The way color changes with temperature is best seen in a gas flame, where the hottest part at the jet is blue and the coldest part is orange at the opposite end. The same can be seen in this photo of a farrier heating up a piece of steel. As you can see, the hottest part of the steel is glowing white, and as the temperature drops, the color fades into yellow and orange, just like our temperature chart. Keep in mind that different metals will glow a certain color at different temperatures. So in this image, the white tip is not 5000 degrees Celsius. So now that you understand how color temperature works, let's have a look at why we care. In order to have natural looking colors, your camera or editing software needs to have the white balance set to the color temperature of the light source. This can be easily done by using a white balance card or a color checker, or just eyeballing the settings. The issue with eyeballing it is that unless you are using a calibrated screen, which the back of your camera is not, it is very easy to get the white balance completely wrong. If you want to learn more about how a color checker works, I will leave a link in the description below. As a side note, if you are using Flash and decide to just use Flash white balance preset on your camera, I highly recommend you check out my video on Flash white balance, also linked in the description below. The way your white balance works, regardless what it is your camera or editing software, is that the white balance slider adds either orange or blue. There is also a tint slider which adds either magenta or green. I will not be covering tint, however tint works exactly the same way as the white balance slider, just with different colors. In this example, if we add a line to show the midpoint across the entire scale, you can see that the white balance is at 5500 Kelvin. Essentially, when the balance of orange and blue is equal, we get the correct white balance. So now let's add the white balance line. This line represents how the white balance changes affects your image, as you will see shortly. So let's say you are shooting with tungsten light, which is roughly 3200 Kelvin. When you change your white balance to tungsten, white balance shifts to the midpoint at 3200 Kelvin. This setting will now give you perfect colors in your image at 3200 Kelvin. But notice how the balance changes across the entire color range. Now let's consider a situation where you have a nice moody tungsten lighting in your location and you are trying to take a portrait. Chances are the ambient light will be too dark to light your subject, so you decide to use a flash. Since flash is daylight balance, the color temperature will fall around here, making anything lit with the flash look blue when the white balance is set to tungsten. If you change your white balance to flash, your subject will look great, but the rest of your scene will have an orange cast throughout. This is why you need to be aware of all the light sources in your scene and their corresponding color temperature. The moment you mix two color temperature sources, you cannot just fix your white balance easily in post. So what do you do? The answer is color correction gels. Color correction gels come in two types: CTO, or color temperature orange, and CTB, or color temperature blue, and work just like the white balance slider does, but only on selected lights. A CTO gel will change any daylight balance light into tungsten, and CTB gel will change any tungsten light into a daylight color. As photographers, we typically use CTO since we are normally balancing daylight flash and indoor lighting. CTB was predominantly used by film and TV, where tungsten lights were used to light outdoor shots. Keep in mind that it makes no difference if you use CTO on your flash or CTB on your tungsten lights, or a mixture of both as far as balancing your light sources goes. As long as all the lights are brought to the same color temperature, your white balance will take care of the rest. Color correction gels come in full, half, and quarter strength to allow you to balance color temperature more precisely. A full CTO will take a daylight balance light and make it tungsten balance. A half CTO will get you halfway there, and a quarter CTO, as you've probably already guessed, will get you a quarter of the way there. These days, with the increased use of LED lighting with warm white and cool white, you are not always dealing with 3200 Kelvin tungsten temperature, so having multiple strengths will allow you to balance your lights more precisely. You may even find yourself in a situation where you need to use different strengths of gels on different lights, including some CTB of various strengths on the room lights also. The point to note is that CTO and CTB gels are made to a specific color. You can't just use any orange or blue gel and expect the same results. As a side note, if you are mixing flash with fluoro lighting and set your white balance to daylight, the fluoro lights will give you a green color cast. And before you ask, yes, there is a green color correction gel for that also. So next time you're in a tricky lighting situation and struggling to get the right colors in your photograph, have a look at all the different light sources lighting your scene and consider what color temperature they all are. Remember that fitting a gel to a light takes seconds. Masking and color correcting parts of your image in post could take hours. I know which option I prefer. If you are interested in purchasing a set of gels, I will leave a link in the description below to a full set of Speedlight gels that I use. This set includes not only the color correction gels, but also other creative colors for you to play with. As always, thanks for watching. Please comment below with any questions, and if you have found this video informative, make sure you subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't miss out on future videos.